So last year in 2019, in the summer, we heard a lot about Neuralink, but recently it has kind of resurfaced in the news again. And Kobe, do you want to tell us why?
Yeah, so last week, Elon Musk held a press conference where they successfully implanted a Neuralink chip into a pig's skull, and they successfully removed it from the pig's skull, and the pig was healthy and fine. So that's why the story is in the news this week. Do you want to explain a little bit more about what Neuralink is?
Yeah, sure. So Neuralink it's not as brand new of a concept as I feel like a lot of people think it is. But basically, so Neuralink would be a series of chips implemented into someone's head. Right now, I think they've done, like you said, they did tests on a pig. I believe they also did some pretty successful tests with monkeys.
And a mouse
but basically
as well.
Yeah, okay, cool. So they're moving along with the test animals. But basically, so the way that it kind of works is that your brain has two cognition systems, one that is emotions, needs, and wants, and one that is your kind of thinking and planning. And his goal with Neuralink is to kind of make that a third system, like a digital intelligence, super intelligence kind of thing, artificial intelligence. And what it involves is this thing called BMI, and it's not body mass index, but BMI in this instance is brain-machine interface. And basically, it's this system that can interpret your neuron pulses, and it interprets them into ones and zeros in order to translate that into that digital language. And that's and the chips that you mentioned, they're called N1 chips. And what they do is they read your brain signals, they amplify, digitize, and process, and then they send them to a device, which is worn behind your ear. It's like a little pod, it's very similar to, I'm not sure what it's called, but there's ear implants, or not ear implants, but like brain head implants that go right behind your ear that are to help with hard of hearing, people who are hard of hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So this isn't like a brand new thing. And there's also, I believe I want to say MS, but I don't quote me on that. But there's also just like similar technology that's already available, that's already happening. But the difference is that he wants this to be like a control, like you can control your computer or your phone or something with just your brain. So right now the goals of this are kind of medically oriented. So they're for people who have lost motion in limbs. They're for certain diseases, and even to go as far as things as like mental illness and like depression and OCD and anxiety and things like that. Me personally, I think that this is kind of okay for as long as it stays in the realm of medical. Like I said earlier, like this has already been done in terms of like with hard of hearing and I believe MS and all those things, that this isn't brand new, but this level of kind of implementing like AI and things like that, that's what is a little, for me, in my opinion, like scary. Yeah. I totally understand the whole like getting people who are who like need caretakers to be able to kind of fend for themselves and they don't have to rely on those caretakers anymore. I think that's a good goal. But it's just like almost like a slippery slope with like what comes next. Well, and that's what I'm afraid of.
And it's interesting too that you say the word slippery slope, because usually it's a logical fallacy, but in this case he has explicitly said that once he successfully uses it for cases like Alzheimer's and other, cognitive problems, if that is successful, he then wants to move up just to recreational, full-scale human use. And
that's where I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, because of just the way that he talks about it is like a dystopian movie almost, because the reason why he wants to do it that way is because his fear is, and this is a relatively, realistic fear, I think, that AI is developing so quickly that it's going to eventually reach the point where it evolves past humanity. So it becomes so smart that it's smarter than humanity and can outsmart us and potentially, out-survive us. And so his theory...
Right, like, have you ever watched a sci-fi movie? Like, that's a bad idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, the problem is AI is going ahead whether he does this or not. AI is something that's already happening. I'm sure it already is that smart. Sure. It's getting close to that smart. But I disagree with him in the sense that, people already get paranoid about the government trying to implant a chip in your brain and all sorts of other stuff. And this will literally be a chip already implanted in your brain, and we have computer hacking all the time now. I mean, it doesn't seem so far-fetched to imagine that you'll be people hacking, like literally hacking people in their brain. And his argument, I think this was in a Joe Rogan podcast of his, he talked about how, well, technically cell phones already do that because, propaganda and stuff like that, you kind of already do get hacked in your brain. But I don't know, it's really scary to me.
Yeah, but like you can literally always throw your phone away. You can always turn your phone off. You can always choose. You have the choice to like not use that.
I have a feeling that we'll be
I said this to you.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I said this to you earlier. I feel like he's very much like, just because I can, I should. And in my brain, I'm like, just because you can, Elon, does not mean that you should. Like, this is not something that I want to see humanity, like, achieve. Like, I'm good with keeping it at the medical level. That's fine. But, like, we do not need to be able to send messages from our brain. Like, that's not, no.
I mean, in general, it kind of fits the general theme of his career that I think he's trying to make. He almost wants to be like an Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein. He's the one who made the electric vehicle that helped us transition. He's the one who built the underground tunnels that revolutionized high-speed travel. He's the one who made the computer chip that people implant in their brain. Like, he wants to be the inventor of all the new high-tech futuristic technologies so that he'll be remembered, forever in that type of way.
I feel like he's almost like pushing us towards like the like WALL-E, like the Pixar WALL-E Earth.
Yeah.
Where everything is done for us with our brain, and that's instead of, just existing as a human being.
I was going to say, he really is like a modern day supervillain. Like, he reminds me of those like those super rich inventor supervillains that you see in like Marvel movies and stuff. He like fits that like perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And what I was going to say is, so I just want to put out there, like, plug this video that I watched on YouTube that I actually thought the guy did a really good job of kind of breaking down what Neuralink is, and it helped me understand it as someone who's not very, I guess, scientifically versed. And it's called Neuralink, Merging Brain and Machine, and it's by, I believe, the channel Cold Fusion. And they also said that, like what you said, Elon Musk wants to be able to use this for like recreational purposes. And one of the examples that this video said was that, like, let's say you want to travel to a new city and you have a friend who's been there already, you can download that friend's memories so that you have them. And that's not real. Like, even if we can do that, why should we? Like, why should we do that? What is the purpose?
I will admit that there is a tiny part of me that thinks it's just really cool just to imagine the idea that I could, like, Google something in my brain without touching anything, or that I could remember a specific event. The consequences scare me way more than the benefits, but I can see why somebody would be appealed to of the idea of, a cell phone, but all the time in your brain permanently. Like, I mean, we'd have people who are literally, like, superhuman, like, us doing this podcast right now, we would be researching the things in our head as we're talking, as we're telling the story. We're like a computer. I can imagine a day where, our generation is almost like our parents' generation, in the sense that, like, we're like, oh, these kids these days implanting these chips in their brain. Who do they think they are? They don't even know what it's like to talk to real people in real life. We're going to become those people someday. I really do think that if this becomes successful, I think our kids will probably see whatever benefit there might be of it. Maybe they'll just think that, like Elon Musk said, you need to do it just because, well, half of humanity's already done it. We're going to fall behind. We're going to get killed off. Whatever it is. They're going to have some reason for thinking it's a really good thing. And then we're going to be the older generation who's just like, no, don't do it. It's really dystopian. It's really bad. Don't do it. We'll see who's actually right.
It's like, yeah, I think it's cool. Like, the idea of it is cool and interesting, but like, I just don't see a necessity for it at all. Like, stick to medical, help people learn how to move their body again. I'm all for that. But as soon as it gets to like, oh, Kobe, I'm just going to send you a picture from my brain of what the smog looked like today in Seattle. Like, no. Like, again, I can just pull it out of my pocket and do it that way, and that's fine. And then then you literally always have the choice to, like, to use or not use that type of technology. And I guess you technically have the choice also to like shut off your implant in your brain or get it out. But like what you said, like when does it become to a point where it's like, well, everyone has one, so it's just easier for me to have one.
Well, and the problem will become like, how can you stay competitive at jobs, or how can you be if half of humanity has it and they're outperforming you, like you're like regular humans would become obsolete at a certain point.
Also, is this going to go back to like a poverty thing? Like, are only rich people going to be able to afford Neuralink?
Oh, 100%. I think it is.
Yeah, like it's just there's so many issues that go along with it that I just are not worth it. They're not worth it in my eyes.
So I think this is a good opportunity to ask our audience the first question we've ever asked them. What do you think about Neuralink? Would you get Neuralink implanted? Do you think it's a, really bad like sci-fi movie, or do you think it's actually going to be like a big step for humanity? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let us know.
Alrighty, that is all we have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you give it a like. And if you want to hear more from us, make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can follow us on our other socials by liking us on Facebook at Back Pocket Report, following us on Instagram at Back Pocket Report, and also on Twitter at BPR News Pod.
Next time you're looking for news, don't forget to check your back pocket.